things and events that we have experienced, that I myself have experienced, and a lot of it is based and developed on personal insight of having been involved with a number of initiatives in Pakistan firsthand by myself. So it's not an academic piece, it's not a research-based piece entirely, but a lot of it is firsthand experience and observation as well. My training as a business strategist also lets me bring my own framework and template to analyzing a lot of where things are going wrong and how we are making choices, how we are going about making choices, and how we need to review all that. Hence the title, Putting Pakistan Right, because when you start to fix things, then you need to first start with the strategic side. There are a few big ticket items that we need to get right in the first place, rather than getting too involved in the micro side of the management process, because that becomes never ending. So it's more of a strategic look at what can be done. I don't want to bore you with all the details. I mean, there's a lot of material that's in the book. Basically, as Mubashir explained, the things which are plaguing us is the war on terror, the energy shortages, the opportunity that Pakistan has as our transit corridor potential, because we sit at a crossroads, if you know, in north, south, east, west, all these terms, with the waters of the Arabian Sea in front of us. So the opportunities we have as the transit corridor opportunities we have, and how to leverage that. And lastly, some topics on economic development. So those are the main areas that we have touched in the book. So today I thought I'll talk about CPEC and the emerging geopolitical options that we are faced with in Pakistan. And the reason is that I think it's a very current topic, and it's a very hotly debated every day on nightly television. We are hearing all kinds of experts coming and telling us, like, and it's like, you know, I get the sense, it's like you've heard that joke about the 6 blind people who were asked to describe an elephant. Agar kisi ne suna hai? Yeah, of course. And one was holding the tail and one was touching the side, and each one had his own description, but nobody could describe and that is exactly what is going on in our country. When I turn on the TV and I hear all kinds of experts of all descriptions talking about CPEC and giving their opinion, mujhe wahi joke comes in my mind again. They are trying to describe an elephant, and the reason is very simple. Because you don't have a strategic perspective of the whole thing, and that's why one of the first things you found when you came in was this map. Okay, what is the context that we are talking about? What is the overall vision within which CPEC is a very small part of this overall vision? And I hope all of you got an opportunity to have a look at this map. China has been talking about the One Belt, One Road long before the word CPEC was coined. The present president of China, President Xi, it's written Xi, but it's pronounced as Xi in Chinese. And it's been a long-standing Chinese vision. But he was the one who decided that this vision now needs to be translated into a blueprint. A blueprint, a detailed design. Blueprint is like a detailed design of a building, the architectural design, जिसके ऊपर फिर the builders and the contractors come and execute कि अच्छा दीवार यहाँ बननी है और खिड़की यहाँ होगी और इतने फुट का. So that blueprint was commissioned. They started developing it somewhere around 2012-13 when the president had come. while at the same time they were doing that, they were translating this, and they were doing their work, and the rest of the world knew कि कुछ कर रही है, कुछ होने वाला है, because everybody knew what the big vision was. उस vision के details क्या होंगे was unclear at that time. The vision did not become, or rather the blueprint was not revealed until the Chinese president's visit to Pakistan in April 2015. आपको सबको याद होगा that in 2014 के towards the second half इस्लामाबाद में एक बहुत बड़ा धरना हो रहा था, and he was supposed to come, and then that visit got delayed. When the visit got delayed, finally when the date was announced it was April 2015, and the blueprint was officially made public. ये वाला जो blueprint है was officially made public 2 days before he landed in Pakistan. And the best part about the blueprint was कि उसका जो पहला block था ना was CPEC. They were going to start building this whole arrangement starting with Pakistan. So it was I think a very important event in our own history. So a lot of people think कि जी ये तो this is a Chinese template, और ये तो ले आए हैं, and they've come and kind of imposed it on Pakistan, and we've had no say at all. Now today I want to make a disclosure, and this is something which I don't know why, but nobody even from the government has come and clarified. When the Chinese were developing the CPEC, and I'm putting this on record, when the Chinese were developing the CPEC, were developing the One Belt, One Road vision from their side, Pakistan में elections हो चुके थे. 2013 में the PMLN government had come into power. Soon after coming into power, one of their election manifesto items was Pakistan Vision 2025. ये आपको सबको पता होगा कि there was a lot of talk at that time about उसके consultations हुए थे. We were having consultations. I was on the task force that was to develop the piece on regional connectivity and economic integration with our neighbors. Vision 2025 has a number of pillars. One of the pillars was Vision 2025 का was regional connectivity and economic integration with our neighbors. If you look at Pakistan's position at that time or even earlier, Pakistan was a very isolated country. We don't trade with India. अफगानिस्तान के साथ हमारा लव हेट रिलेशनशिप है. चाइना के साथ हमारा एक्सेस नहीं है. ईरान के साथ पता नहीं क्या है. ठीक है. So this is a case of regional isolation really. But most of our trade is with West, with Western Europe and with the US, वो भी textile के अंदर. Most of our economic interaction is with countries which are very very far away from, जबकि most of the countries trade within their own regions. So it was a very appropriate piece that we were tasked with. Long story short, जो disclosure है वो ये है कि while the Chinese may have been building this in parallel, हमारी activity चल रही थी in developing Pakistan Vision 2025. So the output of Vision 2025 did foresee a lot of what is happening in CPEC. Let me again put that on record. The Gwadar port was there from before. It was not brought in by the Chinese as part of CPEC. The Karachi-Lahore rail line was there. Major arteries have already been there. हमारा जो vision बन रहा था obviously was not China-centric. It was not one-dimensional. It was multi-dimensional. So we were looking at India, we were looking at Afghanistan, we were looking at Iran. And basically connectivity क्या होती है? Regional connectivity. It is the flow of trade volumes. Pipeline में जो भी traffic आता है आपका, whether it is gas, oil, TAPI, IPI pipeline. उसके अलावा passenger numbers between Karachi, Kabul, Tashkent, Delhi. उसके अलावा it could be so there are a number of metrics that are and we were quantifying those metrics. Now पाकिस्तान विजन 2025 की जो इनपुट्स हमने दी थी और जो हमारी थिंकिंग थी उस टाइम पे, that presentation dating back to 2013 is available in the public domain. It is, you just need to type it in Google and you can see कि हमारी thinking CPEC से पहले क्या थी. So in effect, when the Chinese president landed in 2015 April and they brought in their template, तो हमने एक ट्रांसपेरेंसी विजन 2025 की रखी और उसके ऊपर we put in the Chinese, and there was a lot of congruency between the two slides. The incremental things, of course, the number of coal-fired power plants, and those things are obviously they were not foreseen to that extent. But we've always known this government's enthusiasm for coal and LNG. ये दो इनके बड़े favorite वो हैं fuel sources हैं for power, and we all know also that we are deficient in power. Anyway, so having said that, let me just read out to you a passage from the book, which will indicate what our thinking was before the CPEC was revealed. And it says, I'll just read out a section what the book says about it. 2.5 hours flying time from Islamabad lies Urumqi, capital of China's Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region. You've all heard of Urumqi. A further 320 kilometers beyond Urumqi's airport is the Eurasian continental pole of inaccessibility, which is the world's most landlocked spot. From that vantage point, the shoreline of Gwadar must appear as does land to a ship in mid-voyage through a great ocean. And while a Gwadar to Kashgar corridor may not pretend to be the most viable route to China's eastern seaboard, where most of the population lives, Xinjiang itself is a sprawling landmass, home to 22 million people and a $104 billion economy. It is a rich oil-producing region whose growth rate in the recent decade has outstripped the rest of China. But the benefits of this growth have been lopsided. It still lags behind the rest of the country, and the government in Beijing is keen to bring development to the region and also address the Uyghur unrest. One such significant initiative is the Urumqi Economic and Technological Development Zone that has attracted sizable Chinese and foreign investment in projects that include manufacturing of wind turbines, iron and steel, oil and gas drilling equipment, as well as food and beverage and consumer products manufacturing. ये सारा investment हुआ है in the Urumqi Economic and Technological Development Zone, which is a little beyond. When you cross from Gilgit, you come to Urumqi, उससे आगे towards you go तो वहाँ पे there's huge investment happening there. Xinjiang region is adjacent to the Central Asian countries, with which China has become the largest trading partner ahead of even Russia. A large part of this is overland trade. So accordingly, for the Trade Development Authority of Pakistan, the Regus Free Trade Zone on the Xinjiang-Kazakhstan border. Now this is another very, very large industrial estate called the Regus industrial estate, which is on the border between Xinjiang, Chinese region of Xinjiang, and Kazakhstan. The estate might be worth looking into. As the largest land port in Western China, this can serve as a springboard for Pakistani goods into the Central Asian region. So what was being proposed is we build large warehouses in something like the Horgos Free Trade Zone and use that as a springboard to forward our goods from China towards Central Asia, because the infrastructure is already there. The Chinese have built it now. This is, mind you, before the CPEC even came into being. Meanwhile, TDAP so we've been talking about accessing Central Asia through Afghanistan, and the book goes on to say that this would circumvent Afghanistan, where perpetual war and warlordism has blocked our access to the Central Asian region. Meanwhile, TDAP's counterpart, the Xinjiang region's bureau responsible for export and trade promotion, is making efforts to attract industry that can produce goods for Central Asia. Central Asia's future requirements for chemicals, farm products, capital goods, pharmaceuticals, and renewable energy equipment. Okay. One has to sit and forecast where is Central Asia going and what will they need in the future, and plan for that today. And these were the items that are basically we had foreseen were going to be manufactured on the border in China, and then so. Similarly, it plans to develop Kashgar, bordering our Gilgit-Baltistan, into a regional logistics center. Apart from cheap land, the planned fiscal incentives include tax exemptions, subsidized electricity, and transport with low interest loan. Subsidized electricity and transport and low interest loans. Ultimately, the Chinese vision is to bring Kashgar and Horgos at par with coastal boom towns like Shenzhen and Xiamen, which are on the eastern seaboard of China. They are boom towns. So the vision is to bring these regions and these towns and give them the same infrastructure that is available to areas which are closer to Hong Kong. Of course, the Chinese endeavor is to stimulate the production of goods in this region, and then to get these goods out via land routes to neighboring countries and via Gwadar to westbound destinations towards Africa and Europe. Apart from finished goods, this would also spur a regional trade in raw materials and intermediate goods. And once again, TDAP may be able to probe deeper into the potential emerging opportunities for Pakistani industrial produce here. If one is to benefit from these developments, then one has to go further afield than becoming a conduit to other people's cargo. Just naming a 2,000 kilometer stretch of road an economic corridor does not make it one. In any event, the term has become a deflated buzzword after the National Trade Corridor of the Musharraf government, which could not come to life. Let's also not forget that for 12 years, Pakistan was a conduit for NATO containers with little economic benefit. They were all passing through us. We were a corridor, economic corridor.
They were being preferred also.
They were being, with the little benefit accruing from that activity, other than transit fee. For example, even bottled water supplies for the troops of the International Security Assistance Force were being procured from Dubai. They were not buying them from Pakistan. So we have to look beyond exporting our traditional finished goods and towards integrating Pakistani manufacturing enterprises with regional production networks. In the heyday of the US automobile industry, for example, General Motors would outsource the manufacture of many parts to vendors in Canada, even if the final assembly was done in Detroit. With some deeper probing, our Ministry of Industries and affiliated agencies, such as the Small and Medium Enterprise Development Authority, may be able to identify areas in agro-processing, farm implements, and textile and leather processing, for instance, where our value chains can be integrated with Chinese production networks in the Xinjiang region. If on the other side, the same can be done with South Asian regional trade, then Pakistan emerges as the biggest beneficiary from the network effect that gets created. There have been concerns in Pakistan about the Iranian port of Chabahar, located on the same shoreline 70 kilometers from Gwadar, and that India will use it to access Afghanistan and Central Asia. While I am unable to digress and address the India in Afghanistan paranoia, I do not view the two ports as a zero-sum game. On the contrary, I would suggest connecting both these ports with a railway line so they could become alternate nodes in the same transportation system. Gwadar and Chabahar, though adjacent, point in different directions. One is oriented north-eastwards towards China and eastern Afghanistan, while the other is oriented towards western Afghanistan and the Caspian region. The proposed interlinking would allow each country to access the other. In addition, there are economies of scale and complementarities from which both benefit. One of these could be Iran locating petrochemical facilities between the two ports. One has to look no further than the United Arab Emirates and find a number of seaports and airports close to each other, and the entire region prospering as a highly efficient logistics and transport hub. Now we should know that Jabal Ali, Sharjah, Ras Al Khaimah, Fujairah, these are all major hubs, these are all ports. And there are complementarities in Kiapas. And the same thing with airports. Abu Dhabi, they have Ittihad, Dubai has Emirates, Qatar has Qatar Airways, and they are competing and yet they are complementing each other. You know, the Middle East becoming the... So that's what I'm suggesting between Gwadar and Chabahar. For its part, Pakistan must... then it goes into other security-related issues. So this was our thinking at that time, or the kind of thinking that was happening inside the Pakistani as a Vision 2025 ban raha tha. And that I have touched upon. Some of these were my suggestions, some were taken from elsewhere. The opportunities which are going to be real economic opportunities are going to be those which are in supply chain and logistics. क्योंकि वो ऐसी opportunities हैं जिसमें you are integrating your production, manufacturing and logistical system and you are hitching it to the Chinese supply chains. It is, you see, what is Gwadar port? There's a deep sea seaport, but if you look at how Jabal Ali operates in Dubai, with the Jabal Ali port, there's a very large industrial area, which most of you are aware, जहाँ पे बहुत सारी processing होती है, reprocessing होती है, packaging होती है, break bulking होती है. The main function of Gwadar as a ports have their specializations. Like people are specialists, कोई engineer होता है, कोई civil engineer होता है, कोई doctor होता है. So people are specialized. Ports are also specialized. And Gwadar's specialization as a port is to become a break bulk operator, where large motherships come, the containers are offloaded, the major bulk is then broken, and then it is loaded onto smaller ships. And those smaller ships are then sent off to regional centers, regional destinations in Africa, in the Middle East. And why Gwadar as a reprocessing center versus Dubai? Simple, because our cost structures are lower. And the second thing is that Gwadar, being a deep water port, can take bigger ships that the ports of the Emirates cannot handle. So we can bring in even bigger ships, and break bulking is basically where the bigger ship cargo is broken down. And जैसे एक main line होती है, फिर main line से there are hubs and different. So similarly, Gwadar से we see these hubs are developing. So that's one major factor. The second factor, Gwadar specialization, is that Pakistan has a treaty with Afghanistan over transit trade. And what we need is a rail line. Again, this is mooted in our Vision 2025. Out of Gwadar straight up to Kandahar through Quetta and Kandahar. Now Kandahar is on the Afghanistan ring road. There's the Asian Development Bank has developed a ring road which goes all around Afghanistan, which has exits in Quetta, then further south एक और exit है towards Chabahar, then you go further into western Afghanistan, and there is an exit towards Bandar Abbas and Mashhad, and further up towards the Iranian city of Mashhad. उससे ऊपर जाएं, go north of Kabul, there's an exit into Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan and Kyrgyzstan. और फिर उसके बाद दोबारा पेशावर आ जाता है उसके नीचे. So this is the ring road, and once we take goods into Gwadar, transport them through a rail line into straight onto Kandahar, a big logistics center there, it becomes a clearing house because it's a big carousel. The ring road is a big carousel. Any goods destined for Tajikistan, so वो उसका दूसरा function है ग्वादर का. The third function, we have very large copper deposits in Saindak and Rekodik, which are just north and then towards the east, towards the west, towards the Iranian border. And again, these are transported, copper deposits are transported either, well, yes, pipeline, but better still, you can put a heavy haul railway. And the nearest port becomes Gwadar, and any heavy haul needs big ships which need deep sea port, because जितना बड़ा ship होगा उतना उसका, as you know, कि वो उसका वजन ज़्यादा होता है, it goes deeper into the, and so you need deeper ports for that. So extraction of major ores हमारे copper, अब आजकल तो prices are very low, but these are cycles, ups and downs. They will come when. And the fourth utility is the military utility, because एक बहुत बड़ा, there is a major chessboard game going on, if all of you are aware, in the South China Sea, and that is for supremacy of sea lanes and supremacy. America ने एक China containment policy बनाई है, and they have a dotted line that China will not project power beyond that line, and their warships are positioned on the on the dotted line. So there is that big game going on. China's fear is the blockage in the Straits of Malacca, which is carrying around 80-90% of all Chinese cargo, which comes to the west. So अगर वो blockage होता है, now in this very map, you see there are two outlets. One is through Gwadar, but Gwadar is not going to fully solve the predicament, because Gwadar can only reach out to Western China, which is very thinly populated and only has 6% of China's population. So the other line is through Burma into eastern China. That's the other. That's Plan B. If the Straits of Malacca become blocked, then our access to the sea is going to be through Burma. So they are putting in a rail line, they are putting in a pipeline, they are putting in a road network identical to CPEC corridor is going to be, and that might be even more strategic in certain ways. Lekin, what is the coming back? What is the military utility then of Gwadar? जो Indian Ocean है ना, is now the most important and the most militarized waterway in the world. Because if you look at the amount of trade traffic that moves in the world, if you look at the amount of oil traffic that moves in the world, and if you look at the amount of just the countries and their population and the growing economies, right from Japan, China, South Korea, Vietnam, Thailand, Hong Kong, Malaysia, Singapore, Australia, India, Pakistan and Middle East, ये सारा they're all sitting on the Indian Ocean. There's no other ocean in the world that matters more to world trade than the Indian Ocean. Everything has to move through here. Anything coming out of Japan, सारे imports कहाँ से, गाड़ियाँ कहाँ से आती हैं, heavy machinery कहाँ से आती है, containers कहाँ से आते हैं, trade, oil कहाँ जाता है ज़्यादातर. America is not buying any oil from the Middle East. Who's buying it? It's Japan, China, South Korea, and it's all going to move through the Indian Ocean. So we call it the Southern Eurasian rimland. This is Eurasia. ये पूरा जो है ना Asia and उसके ऊपर Europe and Russia and stretching right up to Japan. इसको अगर देखें, this is the जो ये बॉर्डर है सारा साउथ, नीचे इंडियन ओशन और इंडियन ओशन के ऊपर जितना लैंड है, दिस इज कॉल्ड द सदर्न यूरेशियन रिमलैंड. नाउ द मिलिट्री यूटिलिटी, हु डज इट बिकम इम्पोर्टेंट फॉर? जब यहाँ पे इतना बड़ा गेम हो रहा है, इट बिकम्स इम्पोर्टेंट फॉर चाइना एंड मोर सो फॉर रशिया, बिकॉज इफ यू लुक एट द मैप, where does Russian cargo, where is it going to come? How do they play in the Indian Ocean? क्या है उनके पास? Several years ago they were in Aden. Aden उनकी एक seaport होता था, एक base थी उनकी, military base थी. Now today they're not even there. So it's a very attractive proposition. If they want to have their warships in the Indian Ocean, then कल Russian foreign ministry has denied. They have denied कि we have not, हाँ, but वो ये सारी वक्ती चीज़ें होती हैं. It does not change the geostrategy कि the calculus for Russia is in favor of a rapprochement with Pakistan and to use Gwadar as a friendly port for docking, refueling and logistical supply. It's a geographic imperative. इससे आप भाग नहीं सकते. आज नहीं तो कल नहीं तो अगले साल नहीं, 5 साल बाद उनको चाहिए, उनको आना है. उनका इंटरेस्ट नहीं खत्म होगा इसमें. And the same thing can be said of China, because to keep the sea lanes secure, अगर Straits of Malacca के अंदर blockage होता है, what options does China have if they were to have a navy? Middle East तो बहुत दूर है ना चाइना से. Most of their navy is in the South China Sea. Remember, it's on the other side of Straits of Malacca. So यहाँ पे the U.S. naval base of Diego Garcia is in the South Indian Ocean, and they have their whole battle fleet here. So what options does China have? India has a major presence in the region. So China के लिए भी एक और imperative है to have navy and to have a nearby port out of which they can operate. So that is the third option. The fourth utility of Gwadar. So I'll just leave my talk at this one, because it helps us to kind of understand what's going on at the present. Things will start making a little more sense to us. ये कर रही हैं, क्यों कर रही हैं? Why is this happening? Why are the Russians coming? Why are they showing interest here? What is China's interest? और सबसे ज़्यादा important, इन सब चीज़ों को भी छोड़ के, what should we be doing? What is in our own best interest as Pakistanis? Viewed from this template or this frame of reference which we have talked about. So I thought I'll conclude my talk here, and then we can have our own discussion now around the room, because I'd love to also hear your views and your own thinking. I've introduced you to some of the topics that are touched upon in the book, and how it helps us to create a little better understanding. So, Vashti, you want to start taking questions?
Thank you, Moazzam. Thank you very much for the insights that you have given. So we open the floor to questions. सबसे पहले आप raise your hand. But anyway, let's when you ask a question, I would appreciate.
मैं कर देता
We
हूँ.
do not know. So you can-
Danish Dinshaw.
No, Dinshaw, not Danish. That's the other.
You are
Dinshaw.
Dinshaw Avari, Avari Hotels and Beach Luxury
Thank you.
Hotels.
You know, we here, I don't know how far it's true or not, that India is so against the CPEC.
Yeah.
Here, I'm seeing for the first time CPEC, one of China's corridors go into Kolkata. So that means there is going to be a benefit to India, has to be. So why are they against, or is this misinformation that they are against this corridor coming down into water?
Okay, let's take 2-3 questions and then I'll club them together and maybe provide a common answer. Yeah.
My name is Asir, I'm from Capital Systems. Just wanted to know that we have another economic corridor coming into Burma and Bangladesh, which is probably an alternate option for China. So is Bangladesh going to equally benefit from this as well?
Yeah. Okay, one more. तीन कर लेते हैं and then I'll club them.
Well, after hearing your talk, I'm curious to know that does this topic actually mean putting Pakistan in the right perspective, or is it putting Pakistan right as in putting it right, correctly?
Starting with the first one, with Dinshaw's question. India has reservations about CPEC, and the biggest one being कि ये जो गिलगित बल्तिस्तान का एरिया है ना, दिस इज़ डिस्प्यूटेड टेरिटरी अकॉर्डिंग टू दैम. तो यहाँ पे अगर कोई भी इतना बड़ा मेजर इनिशिएटिव बनता है, so it's going to further cement or further integrate Gilgit-Baltistan with Pakistan, and that to their imagination would then make it irreversible, because there will be too much economic and vested interest. So that is obviously one reservation. Two is from the perspective of their strategic planners. इंडिया, when we say ना इंडिया क्या ये reservation है, इंडिया के अंदर भी remember हमारे यहाँ भी, अमेरिका में भी, there are different lobbies and groups and opinions, and not everybody agrees on everything. यहाँ हमारे यहाँ भी नहीं करते. So उनका जो strategic planners हैं, उनको जो reservation है is that when Gwadar is made and if the foreign navy start becoming based here, that will challenge the predominance of the Chinese military presence in of the Indian military presence in the Indian Ocean. So एक ये इस तरह की reservation है. But I don't really think कि इतना ज़्यादा we should give too much importance to India. I mean, this is and what's happening within their own policy framework. And I also think कि हमारे बहुत सारे fears या paranoias जो हैं वो exaggerated होती हैं from many perspectives. One should focus on what one is doing. In terms of the second one that you have identified here, it's yes, it's going. इसका जो basic मकसद है ना, it is a corridor from Burma into Western China. But yes, there is a strip that is going through Bangladesh and right up to Kolkata, because that is another port. And the idea behind this whole blueprint is economic rather than military. What China is trying to do is it is trying to spread its economic tentacles into all the economic centers of the region, because their ambition is economic again. It's not military dominance here or there. China is urging, agar aaj nahi to kal, they will urge Pakistan to open Wagah and start trading with India. They will inevitably, because unke interest mein hai कि ये CPEC एक network बने. And at the right time they will nudge Pakistan and say, यार दोस्ती करो और खोलो. और why are they doing this? What is driving them? Because China is looking at, it has ambitions of economic superpower status in the next 20, 30, 50 years. And already they want to make these corridors, यहाँ पे चाइना के कैपिटल गुड्स की आउटलेट बनेगी, Chinese construction, infrastructure development opportunities, sell power plants, sell mass transit systems, sell city infrastructure, you name it. And all of that is going to be financed also by China. And for that purpose, उन्होंने दो funds create किए हैं. Do we know the Asian Infrastructure Bank and the Silk Road Fund? China is sitting on huge reserves, which they don't know what to do with. They were buying US paper अभी इससे पहले, which was the only option. They were buying American Treasury bonds, but now they are looking at creating this whole infrastructure across 64 countries, जहाँ पे सारे बिजली घर चाइना से आएंगे, सारे पोर्ट्स चाइना से बनेंगे, सारे इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर प्रोजेक्ट्स चाइना की होंगे. और अगर आपके पास पैसे नहीं हैं, वो कहते हैं कोई बात नहीं, we'll also give you the money. You have the Asian Infrastructure Bank and the Silk Road Fund. And in the process, they are looking at making the Chinese yuan a global currency, which will challenge the predominance of the US dollar, which is today the only global currency, and that's only a few years away. So that was the third question. क्या था? I'm sorry,
What the title of the book?
The title of the book. Putting Pakistan Right is just about fixing things. एक कमरा आते हैं, and it's, things are scattered here and there. Let's put things right here. Let's rearrange everything. Let's put everything right.
You're a strategic thinker as well. So I just want to know that do you foresee or do you think there is any chance of European Union type of thing coming for the SAARC countries? Is there any chance of a single currency, networks of transportation? Any chance of that happening?
Not soon. Not soon. But I think inevitably, when better sense prevails in all the countries.
If the English and the French can be at war for 100 years and they can become part of the EU, okay, so I mean, is there any chance of things happening over here?
Wait, go back to what I said now about lobbies. Who is in power in India, Pakistan, Bangladesh will matter a lot in how they think. Who calls the shots? In Pakistan, it is our security establishment. In India, right now, it's the Modi administration. They call the shots. Hopefully one day will come when there'll be better people calling the shots, and they'll think more about the people rather than about boundaries. And the window for both countries, India and Pakistan, is closing very, very quickly. हमारा जो demographic dividend है ना, the young population, is not going to last beyond another 4 decades. Then we'll have aging populations in both the countries. And an aging population and poverty on such a mass scale is something that does not have a historical precedent. And combine that with one more thing, which is climate change, the effects of climate change. And if they do not get their act together, India and Pakistan, there is going to be a human catastrophe which has not happened on such a scale ever in our history, where nearly 1.5 billion poor people are going to become old and dependent on who? 1980 में China, India and Pakistan की GDP per capita was $300 per capita in 1980. China got its act together. जो भी किया उन्होंने, they developed a zone and economic zone, and today China का जो GDP per capita देखें, it's $5,000, $6,000. India and Pakistan are around $1,500. So China is going up. They've pulled 600 million people out of poverty. जो भी आप कहें about China, it has been an unprecedented phenomena in human history. All the aid programs in the world, all the FAOs, the Marshall Plan, the third world development, put together have not had have had the impact on such a large scale that the Chinese economic miracle has created, pulling 600 million people out of poverty in one generation. Historically unprecedented. So why can't it happen here? Yeah. Next.
You're saying that China is foreseeing yuan as its future currency, which would equate to US dollar. But China is also part of BRICS at the moment, and so how would BRIC come into play in future, for that matter? How would China go about equating its currency, or helping in that way Russia, which is its military and economic ally, in SCO as well?
China and Russia are already coming closer. There is going to be more convergence. China is going to be more and more dependent on Russian energy sources. A very major pipeline, oil pipeline, gas pipeline has been laid by the Chinese and Russians to bring energy from the north. So एक ये होगा, militarily they are very dependent on Russian technology because Russia has the world's most advanced technology for making aircraft engines. उसकी वजह ये है कि Russia has very large airspace. It's 11 time zones big, and they have to get from one point to the other in a very short time. And China needs high-speed aircraft to compete with military rivals in the South China Sea. Aircraft carriers उनके पास हैं नहीं, so they use Russian aircraft engines. So the convergence is going to be more and more between Russia and China. As far as the BRICS is concerned, it doesn't matter. The yuan is they are expecting to make it a global currency. BRICS may accelerate that. It may make that happen sooner, but it's not dependent on what happens in BRICS. It is dependent on creating demand for Chinese goods, for Chinese exports, and putting in place power plants, railroads, tunnels, hydropower plants, mass transit systems in all these countries, which are all made in China and financed by China. And so all this money is now owed to China, not by US Treasury bonds, but by 64 countries, जिनके पूरे systems उनकी technology पर चलते हैं. And it's going to create in the process a lot of more jobs, prosperity, and business export opportunities for Chinese companies. If they are going to fulfill all the needs of ये जो चल रही है हमारी जो ऑरेंज लाइन बन रही है लाहौर में, कहाँ से आ रही है? The monorail that's going to run. The Karachi solid waste management project, पूरा जो कूड़ा उठाने का project है यहाँ पे, all mechanized. It's happening in Karachi. Where is it coming from? This is the Chinese template. This is what they're going to do. They're going to come and offer you want an orange line, you don't want an orange line, आपको अगर टांगे पे जाना है, keep going on that, it's going to happen. This is the Chinese template. This is what they are, what's on offer in CPEC. Now, in most countries, इस तरह का जो process होता है ना, इसमें open tendering होती है. If there's a solid waste management collection opportunity, and all countries do that, but they grant a concession through an open tender in which you, me, everybody, we can bid, and then the lowest price पे जो भी लेगा उसको दिया जाता है. There's nothing wrong in letting the private sector do some of the work that the government does. There's nothing wrong in philosophically with that. It happens all over the world, but there should be some transparency, and there should be some cost consciousness, I think, in that. और वो हमारा काम है. But if you're going to keep turning away कि नहीं ये ठीक है आप खुद करें, then you live the way initiatives.
Sir, one thing more that as we have heard that from the 1st December or then for the next 4 months, the border of China and Pakistan will close, will remain closed. So all these economics activities by Pakistan, as well as on the other side to get the fuel or energy through this economic corridor to the Chinese region. So how they will handle in the 4 months?
In the months when it's all under snow?
Yeah.
There's a very specific question. दो चीज़ें हैं इसके अंदर. One, I don't see this becoming as a very major energy corridor. उसकी वजह ये है.
Here I will mention that if the Chinese will get their oil fuels via Indonesia and then Beijing, so this is around 12,000 kilometers. Beijing to Kashgar is around 4,500 kilometers. But via CPEC it is just only 2,500 kilometers.
Yeah.
The cost they will save for one ship around 2.5 million and annually $2 billion. So this is more important CPEC than the other routes of their energy sources.
You know, the CPEC is only addressing Western China. So anything which is going to Beijing will not go through Kashgar. It will go through some other
That's
route.
why they come to CPEC.
Yeah. Anything that needs to go to Kashgar, Urumqi, or any of the small towns. Remember, 6% of China's population is in the west. 94% is in the east.
Because
CPEC
of less development.
CPEC
These areas are not so developed like
CPEC is a transit route only for the west. It is a transit route only for the Xinjiang. Do not confuse it with making it a transit route कि यहाँ से goods Beijing जाएंगे. नहीं जाएंगे.
fuel,
नहीं जाएगा.
energy.
No, it will not. It can't reach Beijing from
No, not Beijing.
through Gwadar.
Not Beijing, to the north area, northern area.
Not even further north. I'll tell you what. There's a China-Eurasia oil pipeline which is coming from Kazakhstan through this the northern China border, and it's coming straight into Western China, and it's going as far in as they would like to go take it. So एक तो उनका Kazakhstan से oil आ रहा है, doesn't need to go through Pakistan. The second, their energy sources are from Russia, Siberia and all that, through Mongolia. There's another pipeline which is coming down. So Gwadar doesn't even factor for, I do not foresee Middle East oil being siphoned through Gwadar, Pakistan and over Kashgar. I don't foresee it right now. I don't think there is a business case. If I can get that same quantity from Kazakhstan, which is much. Who said here who was from the oil sector? Oil and gas prospecting sector के कोई थे यहाँ पे भी little while ago. है. So they'll take it from their pipeline.
My name is Khalid. I'm finance manager of the company. Can I compare this concept with the Suez Canal concept, which Egypt, they are allowing the Suez Canal route to pass on as a shortcut. So how can we link this activity with the economy? Means if Egypt is getting money
Yeah.
for Suez Canal.
It's a toll that they
Exactly.
get. Yeah.
Exactly.
Per tanker is $80,000 they take.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
It's a tolling arrangement. Yeah.
So does it contribute to GDP or?
Suez Canal ke through all of the traffic destined for Europe is going to go.
Yeah.
Europe की क्या population is 320 million, right? And North America, by the way, also. A lot of that traffic goes through Suez Canal. कितने वहाँ after every 15 minutes you stand there at Ismailia, I've stood there, and there is a oil tanker, there's a container ship, हर 15 मिनट के बाद, because 320 million population यूरोप की है, 300-400 million नॉर्थ अमेरिका की है, ठीक है, वो सारा it has to go through the Suez Canal. You can't compare the volume of the Suez Canal with CPEC. because यहाँ से जो जा रहे हैं is only 100 million people of Western China. उनकी requirement जा
So
रही
it
है.
means we have to depend on China, and tomorrow if something happens, so do we have any plan B, plan C? Because in a day-to-day life, you cannot depend on
I think Gwadar itself has a standalone
exactly.
business case as a reprocessing zone like Dubai's Jebel Ali. I mentioned that.
We should.
It doesn't need to be so dependent. The second thing I mentioned, the outlet as an outlet for Saindak and Rekodik copper deposits. The third thing I mentioned as a conduit for the Afghan transit trade. These things are not dependent on China. They are good on even standalone. Any more? Huh?
Usman Ghazi, marketing consultant by profession. Great book, great speech by you, sir. My question is, currently we're discussing the current geopolitical situation. If we take it a bit on the global side, we can never rule out the role of USA in our region. What's your take on two things? Number one, Brexit that happened in the UK and Europe, and number two, Donald Trump being elected as the US president.
Excuse me, may I add something?
Add to it by all means. Yeah.
Actually, I was also listening, like it's a very like nice, positive, future that you are portraying, because CPEC and all, and I am being a Pakistani very optimistic about it. But like I think, like, don't you think you are discounting the political dynamics and the security situation like too much? Like it's there is a lot of political uncertainty in Pakistan, and like the security situation in Balochistan and Afghanistan.
Yeah.
So how this will be tackled?
Exactly. Brexit and Trump का जो है ना, as I think there's how it's going to affect Pakistan. I mean, that's all I can speak for. I don't.
That's exactly what I want to know.
Pakistan is coming into a difficult spot with the United States in terms of, क्योंकि after their disengagement from Afghanistan, उनके यहाँ पे stakes बहुत कम रह जाते हैं पाकिस्तान के अंदर. At least that is a perception. There again, until we have this thing with India, this rivalry or whatever, and as long as it lives, until it is brought down.
One more thing, like they say that he has more business ties with India, with their business community and people. Do you think that can have a negative impact on our people and our society as a whole in Pakistan?
Pakistan does not have too many friends in Washington at the moment. Let's be blunt about it. Okay? And also their interests have diminished at that time, at the present time, with Trump coming. Trump by itself is not the only factor. I mean, इससे पहले Bush भी था, but that could have been very anti-Pakistan. But 9/11 happened, and But we don't have too many friends in Washington at the moment, and उनको कुछ ज़्यादा इंटरेस्ट यहाँ नज़र नहीं आ रहा, other than the fact कि Pakistan, what they think, should not meddle in Afghanistan and should actually support the civilian the government in Afghanistan and let it continue. That is the only interest right now जो उनके board के अंदर है. So in terms of Pakistan's traditional thing, how do we extract concessions, how do we milk the Americans for our advantage, there's not a great deal you'll be able to do. And hence the geopolitical shift जो हमें होता नज़र आ रहा है is that we are going closer to SCO, to Russian interests which I described, Gwadar port ka and the shipping lanes and all that, and China. So it's an emerging opportunity. It is a shift happening. Then also, don't forget, China is also getting close to Iran at the same time, and Iran does not have too many friends in Washington either.
It's a different question, right? So we've been hearing a lot of things about economic development in Pakistan. Everything relates to money, right? Nobody talks about human resource development. Nobody talks about education, universities, institutes. Because if we don't have such infrastructure, what will happen to the economic development in future?
Pakistani companies, most of the contractors are already threatened by Chinese companies. They are losing contracts to Chinese companies in the oil sector, you know that, I guess.
That's right. So let me answer these two separately. I'll answer your question with another question. Let me ask you this, and I don't want an answer, just think about it. Is Pakistan today a welfare state or is it a security state?
Security. What would happen
That's
in the future?
who's calling the shots? Who's calling the shots?
Our literacy rate is going down. Education standard is going down. I mean, we talk about customer services, customer care. Where is standing today? Nobody is being trained.
Who's calling the shots in Pakistan for the last 50 years?
Then we should cross
And what
our
are their
fingers.
priorities?
Then we should cross our fingers and like that. Everybody talks about money, economic. There's nobody talks about the basis.
The welfare of the people.
Basis. Like India has got many universities. I mean, America university, European universities. What we have in Pakistan.
I think there's a major paradigm shift is needed from a security.
I've never heard such thing in the TV. Nobody talks about India. They just only talk about money, economic, oil, pipeline. What would happen to the basis of this new generation coming up?
Our nation is not more competitive than the
What will
Chinese.
happen? Because I don't know.
You're absolutely right. I agree.
I mean,
Our orientation has to be.
all the articles, what we read, even in the book, you have not mentioned, I'm sorry to say that about this.
Human development.
Human resource development.
Human
Not
resource. No, it does touch upon that. Okay, it's a huge. I did say that India and Pakistan are both facing a human catastrophe of unimaginable proportions if they don't get their act together. What does that mean? It means कि आप जब अगर अपनी human development को you don't improve it, and in another 40 years these people are going to get old.
I went to Sri Lanka. वहाँ पे फकीर भी बैठा हुआ इंग्लिश अखबार पढ़ रहा है, right? What is happening in Pakistan? If you go on the signal, क्या कर रहे हो?
But then what is our priority? Yes.
We are just,
Chalo, let me
You're absolutely right about the paradigm shift.
we are into.
Would the CPEC be able to bring about that paradigm shift?
No.
No.
CPEC is not a magic pill that you will swallow and सब चीजें ठीक हो जाएंगी. No, it's not that.
Okay, that's what is coming out.
So,
Seems,
no.
But wouldn't the army, because let's put it bluntly, we are all talking about the army here.
Yeah.
Don't you think that the army would want changes to be made to be so that this corridor, for example, is peaceful? That means certain changes in their outlook in Balochistan, for example, changes in their outlook towards a political setup. I don't know. I'm just asking. Don't you think that the Chinese then will have a larger hand in our political decisions vis-a-vis India, maybe?
They will certainly have an interest, or in Pakistan remaining stable, in Pakistan remaining viable, and maybe nudging us. It might be for our own good to be on good terms with our neighbors, with East and West. And that would be, I think, also in favor of the people, largely in favor of the people of Pakistan, the welfare of the people of Pakistan that you are talking about. That अगर ये climate of hostility खत्म हो जाता है हमारा, if we stop sending jihadis to countries to our east and west, maybe we can get we can be on better terms with each other. लेकिन आप अगर कभी कोई मुंबई अटैक करवा रहे हैं, कभी इधर भेज रही हैं उनका काबुल के अंदर, you're sending.
It's on the both sides.
It's
Look,
on the both sides,
look,
not from
okay,
the
with all due respect,
Yeah, I'm also with due respect.
With
You
all due
go,
respect.
You catch
Might be-
ocean and you don't speak about it, so it's on the both sides.
might be
Okay.
from both sides.
Yeah,
Might
both
be, I'm
sides.
not saying this is not
So
about
both
right or
sides.
wrong,
Both sides.
but this is the fact that you want to remain locked in this, or do you want to become like Europe, where France and Germany, they had a war and now the border is open? So that's something you have to make up your own mind. Otherwise, like you're saying, okay, who's going to think about the people? We'd rather go beat each other up here. Come on, let's put all our resources, make another atom bomb,
Yeah.
buy more F-16s, get satellites now, knock out each other's satellites. Okay? Let's stay involved in that race. Option हमारा
I
है.
will share you one thing over here, if you permit.
What
We
is this?
almost went to war again in 1984 with India. It was only the Americans which were asked by the Indians, and they told them, we are not sure they have got a nuke. So, don't say we can't buy a nuke, don't have bombs. Okay? That's why
Look,
the war
the
did
choice
not
is
happen.
yours. The choice is.
So let's make the choice.
You want to live in a war mindset, then another 50 years you can keep tit for tat, and
So let's sort it out.
You can.
I
you
think
can
that comes back to your ending
Yeah.
question of in your talk, that what will Pakistan do? That what is the correct?
We can only control our own actions. We can't control the actions of the other side.
Yeah.
True.
Okay, so where do we start?
Building
That's-
on from this point about our own actions, do we have the capacity to do that? I mean, we talk about our history. We've had these turning points in our history with the US, with whatever, and we end up getting the worst possible deal for ourselves. So do we have the capacity to do that, to get a good deal for ourselves? And you're talking about the fact that this is a security state. Agreed. But in terms of अभी जो आप बात कर रहे थे orange line की या waste man की, what decisions the political government making है? So if the political government is also making poor choices and decisions, where do we stand? I mean, do we have the capacity to get the best deal to do that? And again, it just puts you in that doomsday scenario. कि होगा क्या? So you don't want that, but what do you do? That's true.
I think you continue. The democratic project in Pakistan is now only in its 9th year. It's evolving slowly. There is again no magic pill to it. There is a process that countries go through, and they develop democratic institutions that slowly become accountable for. They don't grow out of the ground one day. एक दिन चुटकी बजाएंगे या अगर कोई आएगा saying कि जी I'm a messiah और मेरे पास एक जादू की छड़ी है, don't believe him.
But sir,
Because it will not happen.
the
It's not going to
600
happen.
million people जो poverty line से आए, they didn't come out through a democratic process. There was a break in the process that has to happen.
Well, so
Either it's a French Revolution that happens, or there is a break that is put to that process and it is revamped. Because अभी जो आप बात करें process का और वो 40 साल की window की, वो तो मुझे नहीं नजर आता कि वो process चलते चलते 40 साल लगे या 50 साल लगे, वो window आगे कहाँ जा रही है. So that break, what is that one break?
Look, the thing is, I'm suggesting one route which is a democratic way. The other is that you want somebody with a jadoo ki chadi, with somebody who can.
Well, the choice is between the democratic.
Ah.
It should be democratic. Are we democratic country today?
The other option 2, is that you get a dictator. You get a arbitrary ruler who has 2 issues. One is legitimacy. The issue of legitimacy, which is a huge one, and 2 is accountability. So you can get a Mahathir, or you can get a Muammar Gaddafi. इसमें कोई you don't know कौन
Do
मिलेगा.
you think there is a third
Huh?
option of like Bangladesh model? No,
There are many models. There are.
Before democracy, there was the government of technocrats who were ruling for 3 of 7.
No, but like my question is then how long will keep on experimenting on different systems? Like ever since Pakistan has come into existence, so there has been democracy, then dictatorship, then democracy, then dictatorship. I mean, we have to then find a route.
Decide one thing. I think before anything, at the bottom of it all, is the Constitution. And the Constitution is the social contract between the state and its people. And the Constitution tells us how we are going to run our state. It has a model for democracy. And I think the answer lies कि आप उसी के अंदर हल ढूंढें. If you try to go outside and look for other extra constitutional ways of improving, as we hear every day people telling us, then there are bigger dangers. Then there may be dangers to the federation, there may be dangers to all kinds of other arbitrary rulers, there may be dangers of a caliphate type option coming up. वो भी यही बात करते हैं कि कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन जो है वो इलीगल है, हमें नहीं चाहिए. इस्लामिक स्टेट वाला मॉडल भी है आपके पास, वो भी आपके सामने है. सो दे आर एनी नंबर, फिर तो इट्स अ फ्री फॉर ऑल वंस द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन गोज. ठीक है,
It's already 6:30. Thank you very much. Let's take one or two maybe last questions. Then what we can do, we can break for the tea, and you can still have all the discussion over a cup of coffee or tea. So let's have two more questions. एक आपसे ले लेते हैं, दो एक आपसे.
Can you put some light on the darker side of the CPEC?
On the darker side, okay.
No, not the challenges. I'm talking about the darker side of this.
Darker side, on the negatives. अभी तक पॉजिटिव ही बात हुई है.
Everyone is talking about positive. If there is a positive, definitely there must be some negative.
Negatives also. Yep. Okay.
In your opinion, what
I'll
are
address
the-
that.
Like you said, China has done a miracle. Like you compared the GDP, it was how much? $300 and now it's
5,000, 6,000,
5,000.
whatever.
So
3,000, I don't know.
we have to follow China, how they.
I didn't say that. I didn't say that. जो भी मॉडल फॉलो करें, they've done what they had to.
Means economy.
They've
Economy
done-
is the first step.
Leadership.
They've
If you-
done
if you
something.
No, if you fix your economy, then you can fix your step.
Maybe.
This is the
Yeah.
first step.
Yeah.
You need money for everything. Like you need budget for education. you
But
need
it was
budget-
not just money. China had a one-child policy back in announced. कब announce हुई थी? 80 से पहले. One-child policy. One. Two, they had a controlled opening. Hong Kong and Guangzhou and all those areas, controlled capitalism, experiment. ठीक है? And third, a very strong central government, one-party system. And that meant a universal education. Every child has to be in school. A universal healthcare system. And universal job security. But that's, you want a communist system, you need to stay under a communist system for 30-40 years and you'll get these three things. Ukraine has it. All countries that have gone through communism are very high on social development, on education, on universities. उनकी cities जाके देखें, go to Belgrade, go to Baku, Azerbaijan, go to all these countries which are under communist rule. हर कोई, everybody knows how to read or write. They have public transport system. So एक वो model है.
If you could communicate one of my comment.
Yeah.
Because you are part of this planning commission, you must be having meeting with these key people. See, government has to encourage commercial activities and business activities. They are imposing so many restrictions. Like I tell you, very small example. They are deducting tax in bank transaction. Now, if you are restricting something, people start discontinuing. Now, people they don't want to deal with the bank because they are deducting tax on every transaction. How a businessman they can. This is one of the example I am giving.
That's restricted for non-filers only,
like
not
tax.
for filers.
No, I'm breaking. You have
Even
to
filers,
follow-
if you
like-
give a
like I
check
tell
for
you,
more than 50,000, you
small
get something.
business
For
tax.
non-filers,
you have to put
there
a
is tax
fixed
reduction on every
Fixed
transaction.
tax, see, I've seen in the other world, they give a category of taxation. Where there are small businessmen, they are paying fixed tax for every year and they are.
It's I think a very valid comment, very good comment. But two things: I don't represent the government, I don't represent PMLN, and I'm not with the Planning Commission.
Mr. Hassan, you can communicate next.
So whatever needs to be communicated, there are chambers of commerce, there are all kinds of things. But I think those are very valid concerns. The whole of the, in fact, I would say the whole of the tax system in Pakistan needs an overhaul. Why just think the entire FBR bureaucracy needs an overhaul, or हमारा tax to GDP should be 20%. No question about it. So last कौन सा था आपका? Sorry,
I asked
repeat.
the darker or negative side of the
Negative side of CPEC. देखो, negative side is that whatever we take, whatever we accept, we are a sovereign state. Nobody is forcing anything on us, on us कि जी ये orange line है या ये आपका लाहौर इस्लामाबाद कराची लाहौर मोटरवे का अपग्रेड है या वेस्टर्न रूट है. Nothing is being forced on you. You are a sovereign state. You can take your own decisions. So we should have a better process through which we evaluate and make decisions about what the liabilities we take on. And there should be more of public consultation. लेकिन ये सारे वो चीज़ें जो हमारे अपने डोमेन में हैं, ये हमारी अपनी कमज़ोरियाँ हैं.
Why I asked this question, actually I had a conversation with Mr. Salim Raza, ex-governor State Bank.
Yeah.
We had a conversation with him, and he told us that if government doesn't adopt correct policy, then China may take over Pakistan, and we may become like, no, not take over in the form of government or something like that. We will become somehow the province of China.
Dependent.
We will totally be dependent on China.
East India Company.
There is a...
Achha, that was the last question. Sorry.
No, I'm not asking.
I'm concluding now. I'm just concluding. So, just to address that question, one, I do not necessarily share that fear or that paranoia कि बन जाएंगी. We have been clamoring for FDI, foreign direct investment. अब अगर एक मुल्क आपको ला के ऑफर कर रहा है foreign direct investment, इसको लेना या ना लेना is your own choice. It's your own choice. Nothing is being forced on you. You can say that yes, before we signed on to the orange line, did Shahbaz Sharif go and ask his constituents कि जी आपको orange line चाहिए या आपको whatever ये चाहिए education या ये वो चाहिए X or Y. Those kind of choices are what democracies should be creating and offering, and those kind of choices are made with after much deliberation and so I'm not saying I'm in favor of orange line or I'm against that या मैं किसी एक project के favor में हूँ या उसके against हूँ. I'm just saying we need to fix our processes of public consultation and stakeholder engagement and so that the best choices are being made और जो भी हम liabilities take on कर रहे हैं for to be paid in the future, those decisions are made. But again, what I would say is why should the two be mutually exclusive? If the orange line can be viable, financially viable, तो आप वो भी करें और education spending should be from the public sector program. There are things that, again, back to, there are things the government has to do and there are things the government has to let the private sector do. And if a private sector wants to run mass transit, let them run it, give them the framework. If the private sector wants to lift garbage, give them the framework, announce a concession fee of X rupees per ton, दिया जाएगा, और bidding करें उसकी, let them do it, and let the government focus on what they want to do. If tomorrow another private company wants to come and run our postal services, concession it out, give it. All over the world it's done. This is called public-private partnership, and I'm a huge proponent of that model. And things are not mutually exclusive.
Thank you, Dolmen. Thank you very much.